All right, today on Horror Movie Night, we've all come down with something. Scott's caught that mid-century romanticism. I've got a case of I just had to watch this fucking movie blues, and Matt has chronic ocular addiction, coupled with a horrible habit of hoarding movies and Blu-rays. Please pray for our speedy recovery.
All right, guys, so...
we all also have caught the giggles.
All right, so today we are discussing Dr. Giggles from 1993 as picked by me.
Congratulations!
Yay! So, I do have my breakdown of the movie. I do want to throw out there that not only did I rewatch this movie for this podcast, but I forced a group of friends to rewatch this movie for the podcast. And some of them had some pretty solid one-liners that I will bring up if necessary. But let's get started. Dr. Giggles, this movie opens with the most realistic CGI that I've ever seen of a heart being sliced open.
Yeah, it was definitely 1993.
Hey, wait, we need to give the listener a little backstory here. The reason you picked this movie was because when I came to visit back in April, you had been talking this movie up for like a month beforehand, and I'm like, hey, do you have a copy of Dr. Giggles? And you're like, fuck, do I? And
well, no. It wasn't even just that I've been talking it up for a month. We had done the last panel at that convention, which will actually be released. That episode of Same Word Show will be released the same weekend as this. But
cool.
In that one, we were talking about movies that deserve to become franchises, and I mentioned Dr. Giggles, and you laughed. But like half the guys in the audience were like, no, Dr. Giggles was a fucking good-ass slasher movie. So you're like, well, do you have it? And we put it on and watched it, and we were Skyping with Adam while watching Dr. Giggles the whole time and just kept going, I'm picking this next. You gotta pick this next, Matt. And I was like, I'll pick it next, I promise.
The only thing I knew about it was I got a screenshot from you guys that had like Netflix subtitles or something on it. It was just a girl and it said pounding continues underneath.
That was a good time.
It was a good time. So it is 1993 and the CGI in this movie screams you're watching a movie from 1993. But in this scene is also where we are introduced to Dr. Giggles, who is a brilliant patient with a big IQ who thinks that he's a doctor, but no one knows his true identity. Kills his way through this mental hospital and returns to his hometown, which is called Moore High, which I'm putting out because the students go to Moore High School. While in Moore
Not the worst pun of the entire movie, but it's up there.
When he returns to his hometown, he goes to his father's house and breaks down a wall that reveals a hidden doctor's office. At this point, one of my favorite quotes from a friend watching this movie was when my friend's fiance goes, oh, wait, so, like, he thinks he's his dad or something? And her fiance responds back with going, oh, were you not aware that he was mentally unstable? Because I'm pretty sure the movie's been establishing that for the last half hour. But we are introduced to Jennifer, who has a heart condition, maybe. She has to...
I love the ambiguity. It really makes this movie so much more watchable.
So there's one line at the end where she's like, after having done a lot of strenuous activities, she's just kind of like, oh, I can't breathe. Yeah. I'm having trouble breathing. That's really the only indication that she might actually have something physically wrong with her.
Well, and I love that he gives her this heart monitor and is like, don't do anything strenuous for the next week. And before Dr. Giggles is trying to kill her, she's fucking walking home from the doctor's office, which leads to that super weird fucking scene where some random-ass woman's just like, that's a funny types of radio you got there.
When I rewatched it for this discussion, I'm pretty sure that's the lady I think that's the lady who lives across the street from the old house, and like, she's the old lady that called. She's like, I need a doctor. He's like, luckily I make house calls, and then he...
Oh, it is, because she's got the poodle.
Yeah,
poodle.
Yeah. And hey, I made myself a couple little notes, and I'm so glad that dog didn't die.
Yeah.
Too bad for the lady, but yeah, thank goodness that dog didn't die.
So Jennifer's dating this dude, Max. And I have a quote here from the first time that you introduced the Max. And this isn't a direct quote from the line, but it might as well be. Hey, baby, I'm playing sax at a bar one night of a week this summer, so we could totally fuck for those other 6 nights this week. Because I know nothing gets you wetter than a guy who only works 3 to 4 hours a week.
But dude, this movie's calling back the sexy sax guy from Lost Boys.
Absolutely. All right, so Dr. Giggles pretty much starts killing every person that is near him immediately, with no rhyme or reason. Meanwhile...
Except shitty puns.
It seemed like if he didn't realize Jennifer had a heart problem, he would have just gone house to house to house to house, just killing anyone that was inside.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So Max...
Except for a little kid playing Dr. Mario.
Because he was a terminal case already.
Yeah.
So Max is cheating on Jennifer with some skanky ass hoe, which causes Jennifer to remove her heart monitor in rage. And Dr. Giggles finds it and realizes that she's got this heart condition. And then we flash back to Dr. Giggles' origin story, which is that his dad was a doctor and his mom also had a heart condition. The dad started killing people to try to find a new heart to put into the mom. And when the cops came, he sewed Dr. Giggles into the mom's dead body. And there's a whole thing about... There's something that someone pointed out that I want to mention. Did you understand why he giggles when he giggles? Because I never noticed it until someone else pointed it out to me.
No.
When he's a kid, his dad, when the mom's dying, the dad starts laughing. And someone pointed out, did you notice that he only laughs when, any other normal person would be upset about the circumstances? And I'm like, that's fucking ridiculous, and that's probably not intentional, because I don't think this movie had that much.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm pretty positive this movie did not think it through that much.
But because Dr. Giggles knows about this heart condition, he is going to save Jennifer's life, and then he dies 1,000 times before eventually getting electrocuted by Jennifer, which is pretty awesome when he gets electrocuted, because you get the combination of him giggling while being electrocuted, which kind of sounds like Daffy Duck at one point. It's just whoa, whoa, whoa!
Yeah, that's a pretty spot on impression, actually.
Yeah, I think that we figured out what you're going to be for Halloween this year.
I do have one or two other fake quotes that I wrote down that we can pull from this movie. Well, I'll save those for when they are appropriate. So, Adam, you're the one who had never seen this movie before. How much did you hate this movie?
It was not the fucking masterpiece that you guys made it out to be.
That's fucking so great. Is that we were like, this movie's so good, but then we left out the in parentheses part that's for a piece of shit, you know?
I can tell why you guys loved it, but I literally just finished watching it, sitting alone in your apartment, having to watch that movie.
It's not fun by yourself, not at all. Yeah.
I don't know. There's still
you have to watch it with Matt. That's the caveat.
There's still so many great scenes. Okay, I am going to use the one quote. The best part, the part that I remember from this movie, because I remember this trailer and this poster distinctly. I fucking remember Dr. Giggles from 1993 because the advertisement was in the back of every Marvel comic for some reason.
Yes, it was. Oh my god, it sure was.
So when I finally started renting horror movies, Dr. Giggles was top of the list. I need to watch Dr. Giggles. And I remember liking it even as a kid when I watched it, but I didn't rewatch it for years until it came out on DVD. But the one thing that I always remembered was the fucking super hipster guy with the backwards cap and the sunglasses and the...
Maybe she won't notice.
Okay, so beyond that, the maybe she won't notice line I always remembered. I didn't remember that literally his, pitch to this chick is fucking... Hey, so I stole some of my mom's lingerie. Can you put that on? That's not weird or anything, right?
No. Oh my god.
Ever since I found my mom's Victoria's Secret, I've been waiting to do this. Okay, there, fucking Oedipus. Okay, Oedipus, fucking easy.
When we were watching the movie and he was trying to get the condom out of the toilet, my buddy Josh starts yelling, everybody knows you don't use the brush side down to do this.
Yeah, we've all been there. The old condom in the toilet.
Also, why did he unwrap it?
You gotta put it on.
Why was it unrolled?
You gotta walk around with it for a bit.
It just reminds me of Can't Hardly Wait when he's like, Should I put on the Jimmy hat now? Oh, that ain't gonna work.
And then Dr. Giggles cuts off his ding dong, so there's that going for it too.
Oh my God! I watched Castle Freak.
Oh, I really, really want to hear about that one, but we gotta.
I have notes too, though. I have just like 6 notes that I have to say. Should I intersperse them with yours, Adam, or should we do them like?
You might as well just mix them in with mine because I don't actually have a lot.
Well,
Okay,
let's.
yeah,
there are 4 things that I want to bring up with this movie that I think one of them's kind of a making fun of, but the other 3 are like things that I genuinely like about this movie. I think that the scene in the mirror room in the funhouse is way too good for this movie.
Dude, and I know why you love this movie is because it's got a fucking funhouse scene. Jesus, you're so predictable.
But yeah, like I love that scene. I think that it is fantastic. It doesn't fit in with the rest of the movie cinematically. It's way too well shot and creative and interesting and really just doesn't make sense in the rest of this movie, but I love that scene. The waiting room scene is like that classic 80s slasher movie that we don't do anymore, and it really bums me out.
You mean like all the kids are dead? It's like the denouement of everybody's bodies or the whatever?
Yeah, like we don't do that anymore. And I mean, we don't even really have slasher movies that much anymore, but even like when we did, like even Scream in those movies didn't really do that scene as much. Like it was more the person running around and finding the bodies
Each
and all.
body, yeah.
But like, you know, Sleepaway Camp 2, I know definitely did it. But like a bunch of other slasher movies do that thing where all the bodies are stored in one location and someone walks in that location. I always love that scene in a movie. I appreciate that pretty much all of the weapons that Dr. Giggles uses to kill people are like actual out-of-date doctor's equipment from the 50s.
Maybe.
Like some of them.
I understand what you're saying. Like the ice cream kill is fucking gross and awesome.
Yeah.
But let's just not go too far and say that thermometer kill is like realistic here. 'Cause that's my favorite kill, by the way. It's like a really, really funny kill. And, you know, plus like, how bad would it suck to die in your boyfriend's mom's lingerie? Just think about that tonight when you're going to sleep.
And then the one ridiculous thing that I wanted to point out that I never noticed, but someone else pointed it out when we were watching it, is that no one turns on the lights at any crime scene in any point in this movie. Every single time that a cop walks into any crime scene, it's in pitch black as they're walking around.
Better not disturb the crime scene.
But I genuinely believe that Dr. Giggles, had it been released in the 80s instead of 1993, would have been a decent little franchise. I don't think that it would have been like the next Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, but you might have gotten like 2 or 3 sequels out of it, like a Slumber Party Massacre or something. And I think,
how would they have gotten sequels out of it if he got killed like 4 times in this one?
Yeah, it happens all the time in movies. I just think that.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna save it for my notes, but this movie does have a crossover with other movies.
I am excited to hear those crossovers. Actually,
I figured it out.
But I think that like I think that he's kind of a cool slasher. It's, you know, he's got the pun thing, which can get a little annoying, but he's got like the weird forced giggle that I like. Larry Drake, I think, does a great job playing the character. And
Larry Drake's awesome.
And I think that it's one of those it would have been one of those franchises like a Nightmare on Elm Street where, unlike a Mike Myers or a Jason where they're kind of like a one-trick pony, there's always more things that you can come up with for Dr. Giggles to use as weapons and like just keep pushing the limit of absurdity of tying in like different pieces of medical equipment as murder weapons. But that's all I've got. If you guys are ready, we can go into notes.
All right, so these are the Dr. Giggle notes. This movie predicted Osmosis Jones years before it even happened. That hand joke where he like puts the hands over her shoulder or whatever.
Stupid, sexy Dr. Phillips' arms.
Just really sets the tone for the rest of this movie. An audible groan came out of me when that happened. I was like, oh fuck, I know exactly what this is.
That's not the groan that I had when I saw that part for the first time. Was
Oh, you had a moan more like it. So many doctor puns just in the first 5 minutes. I remember like I was keeping track and I paused it, and they were literally averaging one doctor pun per minute for like the first 27 minutes of the movie.
Not enough.
I know that you probably thought that shit wore pretty thin, but I think that's the saving grace of this movie as it has aged, is that it's just so goddamn corny.
Yeah, it really is. Looks like Dr. Giggles is going to kill the cast of Saved by the Bell.
Oh my god. And the stoner guy is from PCU.
Yes, he is.
Matt and I already had this conversation back in April, but yeah, he's like one of the two stoner guys that are walking around like putting up flyers, and then Moonbeam's like, she grabs the hammer from him when they're putting up the first flyer, and she's like, I heard that tree scream, and they're like, ugh, forget this, it's too hard.
Yeah, let's just not do it.
Yeah, it's the exact same character.
I love PCU so much, though.
I do too, but man, his hair is terrible. Oh man, it's so bad. And oh my god, it's the dear sweet Jesus, the fashion in this movie. Everybody's wearing fucking Zubaz. It's bad.
Yeah, but we all looked like that at one time, too.
Yes, I will admit that when I hit junior high, I was pretty upset that I wasn't able to wear sweatpants to school anymore.
Yeah.
This should be a shock to no one, but Matt Kelly's high school fashion was a lot of tie-dye and Hawaiian t-shirts.
I mean, this is probably also why you're still a virgin, so... Which ties in perfectly to my Castle Freak commentary later. Hey guys, did I mention I watched Castle Freak? Alright, oh my god, so much exposition in this movie. This movie could be like an hour long if it wasn't for the goddamn exposition. Like, there are 4 serious exposition moments where it's like a good 5 minutes of flashbacks and or some dude being like, smoking a stogie like, this was the worst night of my life. Let me tell you about it, you know?
Well, yeah, like, a character will just stop and be like, you see this bottle of booze? I saw a little boy crawl out of a woman's stomach.
But that's how you premise every story? Oh, fuck. Oh, also, this movie is so racist. The black couple dies first.
Yeah, but the black cop makes it all the way to the bitter end.
No, he dies too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, but he gets all the way to like the hour and 10-minute mark.
Okay, well, I guess that makes it almost all right.
Look, did you really want to see more of Doug E. Doug's acting throughout this movie? I'm pretty sure his one day on set was all they needed for Doug E. Doug.
I'm pretty sure that I know who they should recast Blade as. Also, best cops ever. No DUIs for the drunk kids who get caught, and then they make them drive home.
Yeah, no, I have that note too. It's like, dear drunk teens, please get in your vehicles and drive somewhere else.
Fucking hell.
All right, so of all the secret things to have in your basement, a hidden doctor's office is probably the lamest. Then
dude, when I have, like, the next house that I buy is totally gonna have that kind of basement.
Well, someone pointed this out. They're like, wait, so before he was an insane doctor, still when people wanted to go see them, they had to come to his house, walk through his house, through like a trap door into the basement.
The 50s were a different time, man.
That woman that was walking the dog. She sees, like, what she thinks is, like, the radio. She gets so uncomfortably close to that girl's crotch. She's like, oh, look at my face in there. What's that, a radio? Oh. Jesus Christ.
Dude, it's the 90s. Personal space wasn't a thing yet.
That whole scene is super awkward, because besides the fact that she's like, well, that's a funny kind of radio. And then she's like, it's not a radio. She's like, well, what is it then? Like, fucking leave me alone, lady.
Also, doesn't she see Dr. Giggles' eye through the peephole and then, like, fucking goes home like nothing happened?
She goes home, calls the police, but then puts on a nightie and gets ready for bed. It's like, well, what did you call the fucking police for? What do you
Right, like, God, man. Okay, you know what this movie needs to be? It needs to be a PSA for old people with dementia living at home, because she obviously forgot what she had just seen 3 minutes ago before she crossed the street. But her kill was pretty sweet. I wish that they would have let that one go on a little bit longer, but that's okay.
So, So those black teens get locked in that room. They can't escape. They think that their friend is like terrorizing them, and they're just like, that's classic Stu. Classic Stu maneuver right there. You got friend's an asshole.
Right?
Yeah, then the neighbor lady, he like switches out her pill, and he switches it out a red pill for a blue pill. So does that mean that she stays asleep and is still in the Matrix?
Yes.
Okay.
Not like this. Not like this.
You get that interior mouth shot where like the camera is pointing out from her mouth, and I like that shot. That was pretty cool.
That's probably why that's my favorite kill of the movie.
Yeah, it's good. And then he's like, I found the problem, and he jams that thing up her nose, and you know what the problem is? Copenhagen left the tracker inside your brain. You got to get it out. Give the people air, Copenhagen. All right, yeah, of course, it's the screenwriter has to tie it all back together, so Dr. Giggles probably killed her mom and took her heart, of course. Yeah, and then she throws that heart monitor away. I'm like, you're a real fucking, like, why'd you do that? Why'd she throw that away? That thing is monitoring your heart. Those hormones make you do wacky fucking things. Hey, you want to come over and try my mom's panties on?
That's the quotes and dog quotes right there.
And then the whole condom in the toilet thing, it's like, yeah, if you get that thing out of there, whatever, but if Dr. Giggles doesn't kill you, then the fucking urinary tract infection probably will. Like, that's gross, man. It's real gross. And when he holds it up, there's a bunch of holes in it, too.
Yeah.
It's
it was useless.
Yeah, it's not going to do you a whole lot of good.
It's probably for the best that he got killed.
Yeah, really.
We don't want that hair being given to someone else.
Yeah,
so you don't want that reproducing.
Has there ever been a scene in a movie or show where a woman imitates fellatio on an inanimate object and it was actually attractive? Because when she's like knobbing on that saxophone, it's just gross.
What? Like, are you kidding? Dude, okay, maybe it's because I played saxophone for 3 years, but I was rock solid.
Yeah, but you hated yourself for it.
Nope. Loved every second of it.
I'm gonna sleep good tonight. Don't worry about me. When they're in the mirror house and that chick runs face first into the glass, like my only real belly chuckle in this whole movie was when that happened. I thought that was pretty good. And then it ruins it because she turns around later and has a huge comical fucking Band-Aid over her face. And I'm like, come on, choose one or the other here. Come on.
Oh, I love the giant Band-Aid.
I feel like you're thinking way too hard about this fucking movie.
Yeah, you might be right. That's my job, though. I gotta take these fucking notes.
I have one more note, and I can't believe that you haven't gotten there yet. It's taking forever. Hurry up.
Okay. And then the little boy comes popping out of the stomach, and he goes, you thought they smelled bad on the outside. And he's
nice! Man, this is it's like the ultimate referential podcast ever. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no wonder she has heart problems. When she has that dream, her heart is on the outside of her fucking rib cage.
Yeah. The attention to detail really fell off by that point of this movie. It really disappointed me.
This is the point in the movie that I realized that Toulon had claimed that Jester was a doctor in his previous life. And Jester and Dr. Giggles make the same fucking noise.
Oh my god!
So when Dr. Giggle died at the end of this movie, Toulon came along, took the ball, put it in a puppet, and killed Nazis.
Alright, I guess Dr. Giggles is alright. He gets to go to heaven now.
Yep, there you go. So you want a sequel? Fucking, you got one. It's called Toulon's Revenge. You go watch.
I guess this is the best I can do for you, my dear.
Come along, my friends. Let's get away.
I haven't heard Matt do this many belly laughs in a long ass time.
Oh, god damn it. I'm so glad I picked Dr. Giggles. Really gonna bring down the mood when I pick Found next round.
Okay, I'm gonna be like out of town.
I'm not actually picking Found. Calm down. Any more
I'm
notes?
fucking calm. I got a heart condition. Time to do a doctor's best. Do best. That was such a good line. That's like the best line of this whole movie.
He picks up the golf club.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the most subtle pun in the movie, and I liked it. It was good.
Right, there we go. Finally found one you fucking liked.
Can we talk about how disgusting the fourth wall break is in this movie as Dr. Giggles dies? And he's like, "Is Sarah Doctor?" And then it's just like the biggest wad of spit humanly possible spills out of his face. He's like, "In the house!" And then collapses.
Really, that's the grossest part of this movie for you? Not the ice cream being regurgitated with blood in it and like parts of people's insides? Okay.
Well, because that's all fake shit, but that is probably really Larry Drake's spit just spewing out of his face in the biggest glob of saliva I've ever seen.
I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'd rather drink Larry Drake's spit than that fucking gross nastiness that they used for the prop on the other kill.
I don't know, that ice cream, when it came out the second time, looked better than it did.
It did look better.
Also, her stepmom's a total bitch, and she ate like an entire pint of ice cream. That's bullshit. That my suspension of disbelief was totally destroyed.
When she ate the ice cream the first time around, it looked like she was just spooning like a bowl of melted butter or something. It looked fucking
It
gross.
looked like sour cream to me. Dude, I don't know about you, but when I'm upset about my new husband and his bitch daughter, I don't totally eat like at least 8 ounces of sour cream.
Yeah, whenever I'm upset about somebody caring about the well-being of their child, I always binge eat.
That's so shit. Like, man, I was so glad when she died because she's such a bitch. Like, she's terrible. Like, that's not even like, that's just bad characterization. And then that woman was just like, how is it possible for me to be more of a Disney villain? I got it. And she just acted that way.
When choosing a heart for transplant, it's really not that hard. You just use the Goldilocks method. This one's too big. Oh, this one's too small. But this one's just right. Did it come out of a man? Do they have the same blood type? Oh, it doesn't matter. It'll fit in there. I'll squeeze it in.
Here, that's not bad movie logic, though.
Establish that he's mentally unstable by this point.
Yeah, he's totally unstable and not a real doctor. So it's not like he'd give a fuck about like blood type or keeping anyone alive.
And then Jen, right? It's Jennifer?
Yes.
Jennifer's running around for like crazy at the end of the movie. She was just dead for like 5 full minutes, right? I didn't just imagine that. I mean, she was sitting there dead, and she gets up and she's moving around pretty okay. Climbing stairs and shit. She's doing all right. And then Dr. Giggles is killed by his own lame puns. That's the end of the movie.
So one question I have for you guys. Dr. Vannegut versus Dr. Giggles. Who would win in a fight?
Dr. Who?
Vannegut from House on Haunted Hill?
Oh. Dr. Giggles.
I don't know. I want to say Vannegut.
I think Dr. Vannegut has a way higher body count. And it's Jeffrey Combs. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, guys, guess who is the star of Castle Freak?
Nice. Should we get into what we watch? Because I think Scott's excited about that.
Well, I'll ask this question real quick before we jump into that. Because I know the answer for me is a resounding yes. But would either one of you ever watch this movie again?
Yeah. I wouldn't watch it. I totally wouldn't watch it alone, though. I'd have to watch it with somebody.
Yeah,
This is like It Follows, but a slasher flick. Like, you have to share it with someone, and then they share it with someone.
Yes. And just like It Follows, it's a dirty, sexually transmitted one as well. I'd probably watch it drunk with a group of people. I think we would make fun of it the whole time. And
Weird Ass Movie Night was the best time I've ever had watching this movie, second only to watching it with Scott. But yeah, the more people that you watch this movie with, I think the more fun it is, because you're definitely able to really laugh at the shittiness of it all. Well, I know that Adam and I both have the exact same movie that we watched this week, so do we want to start with that and make Scott wait more to talk about Castle Freak?
Well, what movie did we both watch?
It Follows.
Oh yeah. Oh, do we even want to talk about that? We've been talking about it all week and shit. Listen, I didn't like It Follows. I was okay. It was frustrating to watch because the main character was a fucking idiot.
I think
the end.
I think my issue with It Follows that I concluded is that it's overly frustrating to me because it seems like there's only one part of the movie that's not working, but it's such a crucial, important part of the movie because it's the script. Like, the script did not take the time to, like, really fucking think out its characters' motivations, its characters' decisions, or the rules of this thing. And that really sucks because it's, like, the acting is good, the camera work is fantastic, like, The direction is good. Like, everything else works really, really well, except for the script, which is the most important factor in what should work in the movie.
Like, just so many, like them ignoring stuff. Like the characters and the scriptwriter just completely ignoring their own rules and stuff that happened earlier in the movie. Like at one point, the ghost gets shot in the neck. It just gets right back up and keeps walking. And then at the end of the movie, they shoot it in the head, and they're like, "Oh, that must have done it." Like, what makes you think that? You shot it earlier, it didn't do it. Like, what the fuck?
Well,
and that whole thing with the pool, like, ah.
Well, there's more things that confuse me, is that people, when they're discussing these movies, talk about scenes that I completely took in a different direction. Like, people make reference to, like, yeah, so-and-so slept with those prostitutes and then never told them anything, and that's why blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, there is nothing in this movie that implies any of that. Any of it. In fact, the scene with the quote-unquote prostitutes, to me, implies that he drove past them and was like, nope, not going to do it.
Yeah. And then there's times where she, like, she'll drive away, she'll go and hide, and she'll, like, fall asleep somewhere. And when she gets up, she just longingly looks in one direction. I'm like, check your fucking spots. This thing could be coming from any direction. Like, I would constantly be twirling around, just constantly, like, east, south, northwest, just to make sure that it wasn't sneaking up on me. Because it fucking sneaks up on her, like, 3 times in this movie. I'm like, it doesn't have to happen. Just pay attention.
Well, there was that one girl, Quinn, during the discussion of It Follows on the Facebook page, that literally was like, if I was in this situation, I would try every fucking thing humanly possible, and they try nothing. You wrote out the rules on there. If you want to have a good laugh, read Adam's rules of It Follows, on how to die in It Follows, on that discussion page on the Facebook page, because it's pretty fucking good. But what else did you watch, Adam?
I watched Electric Boogaloo, the wild, untold story of canon films.
I heard that's
great.
And
it was fucking awesome, because you don't ever really want to sit down and watch the entirety of a canon film, because those things are just fucking awful. But it shows you all the best parts. I might sit down and watch Life Force, though.
Oh, you would love Life Force.
Life Force is so good.
I'm sure that I would. I got it, like, queued up.
There's so many boobs in it too.
I know, and such awesome boobs. I saw some clips from it. It looks great.
They reviewed that on another podcast, the documentary, and they said, like, the best part of that documentary is that it seems to imply that, for whatever reason, they just thought Tobe Hooper could do no wrong and just gave him money for the most insane shit. And that, like they said, like, Life Force, Invaders from Mars, like, they just fucking throw him money and be like, do whatever you want, man.
I think it was Invaders from Mars that, like, kind of broke that relationship, though.
Yeah.
Because it came back and it was, like, cartoonish and funny. And they were like, well, we wanted a scary movie. And Tobe Hooper was like, did you read the fucking script? Like, what do you want me to do?
And I love that version of Invaders from Mars. Like, it's not great, but it's definitely a fun watch.
Yeah, no, it was a really good documentary. I would suggest it. And then I finally got around to watching Lost Souls, the Doom story of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Moreau, which was even fucking crazier than I realized. Like, that was some really, really nuts fucking shit. And Richard Stanley's a very strange man. And Marlon Brando and Val Kilmer are both dicks. That was it. Yep, that's it for me.
I watched all of season 2 of BoJack Horseman, and it's fantastic. I think BoJack Horseman is the best show that is on Netflix, and I know a lot of people think that that's weird because they'll look at that show and not watch it and think that it's just like an Adult Swim reject, and it's not. It starts off feeling like an Adult Swim reject. The first 2 or 3 episodes of every season kind of trick you, and then you watch it, and it's so much more dark and depressing and realistic than anything.
You're not selling this cartoon for me, Matt.
But it's not necessarily like, there's comedic moments, but, like, there is a whole episode of this second season that is a satire on how the news covers the Bill Cosby rapes. It's got
potential rapes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's actually the whole point of the episode is, you know, it's all he said, she said. No, it's he said, they said. And it's like, yeah, but they're all floozies and he's him, so it doesn't matter. Like, and, like, that's kind of the sense of humor, and it's just like, it's a really great cartoon series. Paul F. Tompkins' character, Mr. Peanut Butter, and Aaron Paul's character of Todd are like the main focus of this season, and they both are fucking hysterical. But yeah, it's definitely one of those cartoons where you'll be laughing for like 20 minutes of it, and the last 5 minutes is always like a punch in the gut with like some like actual reality it mixed into it, which Adult Swim shows would never actually do. And then finally, not a movie, but I did go see Evil Dead the musical this weekend, and it was a lot of fucking fun, actually. I had a really good time with it, and the songs are kind of catchy. So if you
Were you in the splash zone?
No, I got the seat directly behind the splash zone, so it was cheaper, but I still got splashed.
Nice.
But that's it, really. That's all I've got. That's
Well-
on to you, Scott. Did you watch anything? Did you happen to watch a movie about cellar dwellers or castle freaks?
Well, let me ramp up to that. I watched a couple movies this week. Started off with The Willies, because in last week's podcast, I was asking if Campfire Tales had the tagline of "You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll puke, you'll die." It wasn't. It was The Willies. I found The Willies on YouTube. Watched the whole thing. Frank from Return of the Living Dead plays a really sweet character in that. If you haven't seen it and you got an hour and like 15 minutes to kill, watch it on YouTube. But it's not really good. I'm glad I watched it because I have wanted to see it since it came out, but I was obviously too young back then, so whatever. In any case, then I watched Cellar Dweller because Matt did a Geekscape article where he got Cellar Dweller and Castle Freak double Blu-ray disc to review for Geekscape. And so I watched both of them. I started with Cellar Dweller, and that was pretty forgettable. But Jeffrey Combs is in both of them. Jeffrey Combs dies in the first 5 minutes of Cellar Dweller, and that's really the high point of the movie. Although I did really like all of the comic book panels in the film. There were a lot of pokies, even if the women weren't cold in real life, which I found interesting. But that was a really good episode of The Twilight Zone.
Yeah, no, that's literally what it is.
Or Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, it was definitely a ripoff of a Tales from the Crypt episode. Well, the Tales from the Crypt episode came after Cellar Dweller, but yeah, there's an episode in season 2 that is literally Cellar Dweller.
Okay. Also, the Cellar Dweller's eyes are far too docile for the rest of the monsters. It's supposed to be a werewolf-vampire hybrid, but its eyes are like, "Oh, I'm so soft and I want to be your friend." I don't know. It's strange. But entertaining film, worth the hour that I spent watching it because, I obviously fast-forwarded through most of the exposition because fuck that noise. Did the same thing for Castle Freak. There was no ding-dong in that film. Literally, there was no ding-dong in that film. Cellar Dweller has no dick, but the thing that falls on the floor is his thumb, which he bites off so he can get out of his restraints, which I don't understand why when his mother was alive and beating the shit out of him with a studded cat o' nine tails, he didn't consider that for the first, 40 years of his life or whatever. So, Cellar Dweller's a fucking perv. He wants to lick everyone's nipples and has nothing else to offer sexually. But he is just so horny. I kind of felt like the blind daughter, was doing her best blind girl impression of Jennifer Connelly in Phenomenon, which isn't really saying much. But it was a pretty gross film. I don't know if I'm better for having watched it, but it did give me an idea for one of my next Geekscape articles for myself. So thanks for that, Matt. So yeah, I watched Madman from 1982. I watched that. I think I burnt through that in about a half an hour because it was so terrible.
Okay, never mind then. I was going to say,
what?
I've always wanted to see it, and I never have.
No, there's nothing worth watching in it. The kills are boring. The monster design, the killer design is crap. It plods along. There's one character who thankfully gets murdered, who is like some sort of philosophy student or something, and he just goes on all these diatribes about like morality. And so I was like, fast forward, no thanks, don't give a shit. There's also a quick like underlying theme that I got for a second where I was like, oh, is the one chick kind of like, does she have like a lesbian crush on the survivor girl? No. She gives her this like sidelong glance, but then it doesn't go into anything. And it's just this movie. So this movie, well, I read up on it afterwards because I was like, that movie was a total train wreck. And I guess that the guys that wrote it and directed it were originally going to have it be about Cropsy, and then The Burning was already in production, and they were like, well, we can't do it about Cropsy anymore because The Burning is basically a straight rip of the Cropsy urban legend. And so they kind of rewrote it, and it just lost all of its interesting points, I guess, because it was just whatever. It was probably one of the worst slashers I've seen as far as derivative bullshit. So I have a bunch more on my list to watch, and I'm hoping that I got through Madman without having to go through another one as bad as Madman. So that was what I watched this week. Oh, and I watched the first 10 minutes of Young Justice episode 1. Adam, you and I are going to commiserate next podcast about that show, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, just keep watching. It has its ups and downs. It's okay for the most part.
Well, I can't rewatch Justice League Unlimited anymore. I have to watch Young Justice. So
I'm rewatching original Justice League right now.
I don't really like original Justice League. I like Justice League Unlimited because they have all the like ancillary characters, which are the really fun characters. Plus the Neon Skull or whatever his name is that comes up in season 2 of Unlimited is just such a cool character. Like, that character design is so 90s.
Oh, the ghost guy or whatever that's constantly
he's got a neon green flaming skull, and he works for Luthor.
Oh, okay, yeah. No,
he works for Grob, and then he works for Luthor. Spoiler alert.
I did watch something else. I remember you guys talking about this. I watched the first half season of Last Man on Earth.
Yeah.
And does it get better?
No.
No.
It's kind of just middle ground the whole time. The character's super unlikable.
Good. It was so good, and then it just took such a nosedive, and I don't know if I want to finish it or not.
I mean, it's worth finishing, but it's definitely one of those shows where the character never changes his ways, and it just becomes really infuriating. I'd imagine it's even more stressful to watch all in one sitting as opposed to week to week, like I was watching it. But yeah, it's not the best show on television for sure. You should watch BoJack Horseman.
You should watch the rest of it if you have the amount of free time that Matt does.
I kind of do, and I have an Android box, so I would literally what I gave you for what I watched this week is like a drop in the fucking bucket of what I've actually watched this week.
Then watch BoJack Horseman, man. It's great.
I watched a couple episodes of it.
That is Dr. Giggles. Next week we're going to be talking about frailty. But just in case you didn't know from the previous episodes, you can always check us out on our Facebook group or our Reddit page at Our Horror Club, or check out Geekscape or our Twitter account. They're all great places to chat with us. Maybe not so much the Twitter account, but the Facebook group specifically is pretty great. Always, you can shoot us some emails at hmnpodcast@gmail.com. I don't know, tell us about the shittiest thing that ever happened to you at the doctor's office. I don't know, We've been talking about dicks for the last 3 weeks, and no one's been sending any, so I guess we needed to choose a new plan of attack.
Or somebody send me an argument that there was a wiener that got thrown, ding-dong, that got thrown in Castle Freak.
Tell us if there was a ding-dong rip in Castle Freak, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that his dong was gone years before, because there's no blood there.
I was going to say, I sent you the link, right, to the Flophouse Wikipedia page about Ding Dong Gate, where people could not conclude either way. All right, well, that is it. Thank you guys for listening, and check out next week with Frailty.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.